All right, well, good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome to the Housing Commission, March 5th, 2025, regular Housing Commission meeting. This is a hybrid meeting for the Housing Commission, members, city staff, and members of the public. We are participating in the open conference room via Zoom. I would like to call the meeting to order at 6:40 p.m. I'd like to introduce staff and Housing Commission members present. Please note, I'm Commissioner Schweitzer, who's going to be chairing the meeting tonight. The Housing Commission Chair Merriman, as well as the Vice Chair Trumpunt, are absent. And present with us this evening is Housing Manager Tim Wong, Management Analyst Ariana Milton, Principal Planner Farina Sandemeyer, Principal Planner Tom Smith, and Attorney Michael Biddle, as well as representing the city attorney's office, and that will be attending remote. Yes, and Commissioner roll call. Oh, yeah. So let's see here. Commissioner Veely.
Present.
Commissioner Leach.
Here.
Chair Merriman is absent for the record. Commissioner Portillo.
Here.
Commissioner Switzer is here, and Vice Chair Tremont is absent for the record. So Tim, would you please provide some instructions for the Housing Commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Switzer, and members of the Housing Commission. Welcome everyone to the March 5th regular meeting of the Housing Commission, and thank you for attending. Staff will engage cameras and microphones to make presentations and respond to the members of the Housing Commission. For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment on an item on tonight's agenda, after the chair calls for public comment on the item you wish to speak on, for virtual participants, please engage the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen. For those who are calling in from a landline or a cell phone, please press 9. Is it 9 or star 9? Star 9, okay? And for those in person, please complete a speaker card and bring it to me. And again, those who are calling on landline or cell phone, please press star 9. And that concludes the instructions, and I return the meeting to the chair. Thanks.
Moving right along, next item is public comment. Under public comment, the public may address the Housing Commission on any subject that's not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the Housing Commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. You are not required to provide your name or city of residence, but it is helpful. The Housing Commission cannot act on any of these items discussed listed on this agenda, and therefore the Housing Commission cannot respond to non-agenda items brought up under public comment, other than to provide general information. And Ariana, do we have any public comment?
Nope, we do not have any public comments at this time.
All right, so on to regular business. So under regular business, the Housing Commission receives informational presentations in addition to considering policy matters and administrative actions. So for our first item, we are going to have a little bit of a reordering from the noticed agenda. So we're going to be starting under, let's see, item D1. Actually, we're not going to be doing the minutes. So due to Commissioner Veely needing to leave the commission early at 7:50 p.m., I'd like to reorder the agenda. So let's start with agenda item D3. And is there a support for the Housing Commission to move this agenda around?
Motion.
There's no need for an actual call, but just a general consensus would be great. Thanks for your support.
Yes.
D2 for the record. Okay. So with that, item D2 would be for consideration to make a recommendation to the planning commission and city council to approve a below market rate housing agreement and LPGS Menlo Park LLC for the Parkline Master Plan project to comprehensively redevelop the SRI campus at 333 Ravenswood Avenue. And Principal Planner Karina Sandemeyer will be giving an introduction on the item. And after staff's presentation, we will have a presentation from the applicant. So with that, the item is for you.
Okay, great, thank you. Good evening, commissioners. I'm Karina Sandmeyer, Principal Planner. I'll be giving an overview of the Parkline Master Plan project and the draft BMR agreement. Next slide, please. So just as an introduction, this item is a review of the BMR housing agreement for the proposed Parkline Master Plan project. The draft agreement is consistent with the municipal code and BMR guidelines. Staff is recommending that the Housing Commission review and recommend approval of the draft agreement to the Planning Commission and City Council. So this slide shows the project location. Basically, it's bounded by Ravenswood Avenue to the north, Middlefield to the east, Laurel to the west, and then Burgess Drive and the USGS campus to the south. This site includes the SRI campus and 201 Ravenswood Avenue that's currently developed with the church and childcare. This map also shows the close proximity of the site to the Civic Center. We're just across the street. Across the street from the site, across Middlefield is MA High School. And then you can also see the proximity of downtown and the South train station. Next slide, thank you. So this is the proposed site plan. So the project would demolish 35 buildings on the SRI campus, as well as 2 buildings at 201 Ravenswood Avenue. The proposed residential buildings here are shown in yellow. So it's 646 dwelling units consisting of apartments and townhomes. And then there would be a land dedication for a 100% affordable building with up to 154 additional units. And that is shown in the upper right-hand corner here at the intersection of Ravenswood and Middlefield. The project also includes 5 new office/R&D buildings, an amenity building, and 3 new parking structures. 3 buildings would remain for SRI's continued use, and those are shown in the darker blue. The light blue shows the proposed new buildings. The project would increase publicly accessible open space and bike and pedestrian connections through the site. So the BMR housing requirements for a mixed-use project like this, there's a residential requirement that 15% of the units be available to low-income 80% AMI households or low-income equivalent. And the proposed agreement includes 97 units, which is 15% of the 646 proposed apartment and townhomes. There's also a commercial linkage requirement for mixed-use projects. In this case, it doesn't apply because there is no net new non-residential square footage, so no commercial linkage fee. Next slide, please. So the draft agreement includes 90 rental apartments, and those would be at low income or equivalent, and 7 rental townhomes, or those could be for sale townhomes at the moderate income level. The agreement also includes donation of a 1.6 acre parcel to an affordable housing developer. with an additional up to 154 units available to households up to 60% AMI. The project-wide BMR agreement would need to be recorded for the 97 inclusionary units and up to 154 units in the affordable building, concurrent with recordation of the conditional development permit that would permit the project and the development agreement. Subsequent BMR agreements for each building or project component would be required, and those would set specific location size and affordability levels. Each building or component would be required to meet low income equivalency independently, and construction of the BMR units would be concurrent with the market rate units. So the next steps for the project, the development agreement, just the agreement between the city and the developer. The term sheet for that will be going to city council, potentially at the end of March. Then we will release the final environmental impact report, likely in April. The project master plan will go to planning commission, and they will make a recommendation to city council. And so this last slide, the staff recommendation, which is that the Housing Commission recommend approval to Planning Commission and the City Council of the draft agreement. And that concludes my presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
The applicant, if you would like to make a presentation.
Absolutely, thank you. Good evening, members of the commission, city staff, and residents of Menlo Park. I'm Mark Murray with Lane Partners. We are a real estate development firm that's been based in Menlo Park since we were founded about 19 years ago. And we were selected by SRI several years ago to be their partner in re-envisioning their campus via Parkline. Next slide, please. SRI is a nonprofit research organization that has called this site home for over 80 years. And our primary assignment with SRI was to provide a project that could give them a modernized research and development campus that would accommodate their needs and potentially other users as well, both now and in the foreseeable future. And then jointly, we and SRI set out to provide a project that meets all their goals, but also to provide really a vibrant new district within the Menlo Park community that provides so much more than that, including housing, but other community benefits. Next slide, please. And, we've been, I think, in the public facing part of this project for just about 4 years now. And the project has evolved a lot based on community feedback, particularly in terms of the amount of housing. But the guiding principles that we set out with really haven't changed. And those were, opening up what has historically been a closed off campus and opening up a lot of it to the community. Right now, it's kind of a blockage in terms of from a transportation standpoint. So really changing that, making it highly permeable for alternative transportation, bike and pedestrians. We have 2.5 miles of different bike paths kind of going through the site to make transportation safer and more efficient, to increase sustainability, reduce carbon production, and obviously create a lot more new housing, both market rate and below market rate in the community. Next slide, please. We spent a lot of time on community outreach, and that the feedback we've received has really been a big part of the changes that we've made, particularly in housing. In general, the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. People love the open space and the transportation improvements, housing. Housing's kind of been the biggest challenge throughout because it's an incredibly pro-housing community. At the same time, when you ask someone like what's the right amount of scale, what's the height, you get a really varied kind of constellation of opinions, and that's been kind of the biggest challenge for us. Next slide, please. And the biggest thing that's changed over the last 4 years is really the scale of housing. When we started out, we knew the community wanted to see an impactful housing element to this project, but it was really hard to guess kind of what's enough, but not too much. We started out with 400 units. We had our first major study sessions in 2022 with commission and council. And via those, the guidance was, hey, look at up to 600 as a maximum. Our next submittal was about 550. And then over a series of hearings with planning commission, I think in late 2022, early 2023, which included the EIR scoping session, that guidance ultimately ended up at 800 units as a maximum to study under the EIR, and that's what we did. And, we really left all that feedback process and concluded like, we think the community wants to see as much housing as we can do, but we also didn't want to provide it in a way that wasn't palatable. And that was a huge challenge that we really hadn't been able to figure out, but then we were able to negotiate purchase rights on the Church of Christ the Scientist on Ravenswood Avenue. And now that land is included in Parkline, but that property owner actually has rights to a big parking field and ingress and egress in that whole kind of corner. So even though they only owned an acre, it really sort of inhibited doing any kind of real development in that corner, so that having the rights to purchase that, including the project, really freed up several acres. And that is now a second housing district of both a housing dedication for low income as well as market rate housing as well as a large recreation dedication to the city. But we were ultimately able to get to 800 units. And as Karina mentioned in her staff report, we're doing both 15% inclusionary in our component and then dedicating to a nonprofit to do 100% low income. And assuming that's built to the maximum of 154 units, that would equate to 31% of the 800 being BMR, which I think is the highest percentage proposed in Menlo Park. Next slide, please. And this is just a list of kind of the major community benefits of the project. Happy to go into that in detail during the question session if you'd like, in addition to housing. Next slide, please. And then just to remind, these are some illustrative examples of what we intend the project to look like, but to remind commission where we're at in the process, as Karina mentioned, right now we're kind of approaching final hearings for programmatic approvals. So it's not architecture. We're gonna have a complete architectural review that goes through planning commission on day 2, but we tried to put some exhibits together so the community could see now, like, what is the design intent? Like, not just architecture, but height, massing, how's it gonna look and feel when you're walking down Laurel or Ravenswood? So this is the Laurel Street residential. This is the 4-story multifamily building. Next slide, please. And then this is as you're wrapping Laurel going onto Ravenswood. So this is the taller of the 2 buildings. This is the 5-story, 300-unit building here. Next slide, please. This is the Paseo that connects Laurel into a lot of the open spaces within more of the central part of the project. So we wanted to have very welcoming, both from like a sight lines as well as access standpoint, design that really says, hey, you can come through here. This is public. Come on in. So this is the 4-story building on Laurel to your left. Then you have the Paseo leading into the public open space. And then on your right is 2-story town product. Next slide, please. And this is just kind of a different angle of the same kind of area, but it gives you a little better sense of the 2-story product there. Next slide, please. And then this is if you're standing on the park dedication area and looking at the corner of Ravenswood and Middlefield. So on your left, and you can see we have a different architectural style here. But again, I just want to caution, we haven't gone through architecture, but the Laurel Street elevation, we really went for like a Mediterranean. That was something we received really positive feedback on in terms of design. We also heard from commission that, hey, it'd be nice to see a little bit of variation. Now that we have these 2 housing districts, this kind of gives you a sense of going a little more modernist direction, but we're very open in terms of architectural styles. But again, this is both market rate and BMR 3-story townhome units, and then the affordable dedication to the left in public space in front. Next slide, please. And happy to answer questions. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for those presentations. This item is now open for public comment. Do we have any public comment in the room?
Looks like we have 1 person online that has public comments. So I'm gonna bring up timer.
Hi.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. Hi, my name is Catherine Dumont. I live in District 3. I'm a short half a mile from the site, the Parkline SRI site. And I just want to express my support for the approval of the BMR tonight. And I hope that it will move forward in the planning process. And I think I really appreciate the developers working with the community on the on making this more affordable units, and the carve out for a nonprofit developer to take on the challenges and the potential. So I just wanted to express my support. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Let me just see if there's anyone else. Okay, so we have Connor Chang as well. Okay, Connor, if you can hear me, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Awesome. As you know, my name is Connor Chang. I'm a resident in Menlo Park. I think a lot of this stuff is very interesting, and I kind of wanted to express that. One of the questions I did have, though, is some of the concerns around like transportation. A lot of what was mentioned was surrounding kind of opening access and having alternative pathways for people. But if we're building a lot of housing, how is that going to distribute out through the rest of the community? Also, just knowing the area and how that is going to work out with existing transportation channels. Thank you.
Thank you, Connor, for your comments. Let me check if there's anyone else. Last call. Okay, that is public comment for this item.
All right, well, this item is now open for Housing Commission clarifying questions or discussion.
I wanted to, there was I'm not sure what the protocol here is, but we were forwarded an email from someone who was expressing concern about, what was it?
Oh,
The stats, what does it say? Well, 300 feet from exhaust stack serving SRI Biological Research Laboratory. I wasn't sure what the protocol is. Do we bring that to, or?
That was forwarded just since it came in from the for the Housing Commission. So it was just forwarded for your information.
Okay.
It's a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just add, if I might, good evening. My name is Michael Biddle. I'm with the City Attorney's Office. And, for the purposes of this meeting is really provided in the city's municipal code, and that is for the Housing Commission to review the agreement for compliance with the city's below market rate housing program, and to make a recommendation to the Planning Commission and the City Council related to the agreement and its it's compliant with the below market rate program. And that's really the extent of the Housing Commission's oversight and authority. And the comment from Ms. Goodman regarding this alleged health risk is really completely in opposite to the purpose and scope of this meeting. And it's so, without even getting into the content of the comment, it really is, as I say, is beyond the scope of the commission's review in this matter.
Thank you for clarifying that.
You're
I
welcome.
would like to ask a question. So Commissioner Portillo, so I wanted to clarify that for below income, it's 646 units that are gonna be rewarded to the low income, is that accurate?
No, so it's 600, there's two components.
Mhm,
There's 646 units which we intend to develop.
mhm.
Those will be 15% of those in compliance with the ordinance. 15% of the 646 will be BMR. And that's goes into greater detail in our proposal. And then we're making a dedication to a third-party nonprofit, which will be 154 units. Those will be 100% at low income or it can also be very low in ELI, but it has to be low income or below.
Okay, great, thank you. And in regards to that question, I have a following, if that's okay. Do you guys know who you guys are going to be working with in the nonprofit sector as far as?
We've been engaged with one group who's very interested in the site.
Mhm,
And they've given us a lot of feedback on design and things like that and what works. So we feel like we're in a very good spot. The goal is to give a really good package to the nonprofit and that will have CEQA approval. They really just have to pick it up and do architectural review and, hopefully get financed. But staff's expressed some interest in being part of that final selection process. So it's still ongoing.
Now, is it okay to ask if we can know the name or Tim or no?
They're still negotiating, so if they would like to, but.
Yeah, our goal is to announce that soon, but I can tell you the criteria will be, we want to see a group that's going to perform, that's going to take that dedication, that has experience both in development and finance, because we want to see that get built as soon as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure if there's a criteria that you guys are choosing that's kind of communicated to the nonprofits that are out there and would like to take the opportunity to particularly take part on the below the market rate for the low income, the 154 units that you guys have.
I think it sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
It's a really exciting process. I worked on that campus and it's like, just kind of like weird little pocket where you kind of go in there. Didn't know this was here, so. It'd be good to open it up for the public.
Well, just some comments. I mean, thank you, staff, for a well-written report. I think, it shows that the applicant has engaged the community. I appreciate that slide that detailed, I think you guys held 12 community meetings and it's like over 1,000 survey responses and it was 45 site tours that you conducted.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely engaging the community. I think that was great and donating that parcel for up to 154 units, I think is a great addition to this agreement. So I think those are our comments. And Commissioner Feely, do you have any comments?
I'm also very excited about, the project as a housing advocate and a Menlo Park resident. I think it's a great use of the space. I guess maybe I would ask a little bit about transportation plans, if there's bike parking included. Or, what's kind of the line? Are we hoping for public transportation as a primary method for people to get around who live there?
Yeah, absolutely. Is it possible to pull up the presentation? I could just show kind of the map of where the different bike arteries go, but that was something we received huge community feedback around. And what's really, this is such a great opportunity in that, currently with it being blocked off, it's this huge chunk of land kind of right in the center of town. And the city's done a good job in infrastructure, having the bike overpass on Ringwood, and hopefully the Middle Avenue tunnel will come along before too long. We thought about a lot of those offsite things and how do you create that connective tissue. But yeah, I think we have 2.5 miles of bike paths kind of going through the site. Some which are kind of meant to be, cut through it, others just kind of meander, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. And a lot of it was thinking about students going to MA or going the other direction to Hillview and, there are bike lanes in Ravenswood, for example, but you're adjacent to cars. So we have a really large paseo kind of running down Ravenswood. And the idea was particularly thinking about students to get them out of the bike lane in the street and kind of have a safer route. You can go down a couple. I think there's just a Might be a few, there's kind of just a big site map of. Yeah, keep going.
Great at the site now. Oh,
No, this one doesn't, yeah, a couple, it's like this, but then it has some, yeah, this, sorry, it's a little zoomed in, but, so the yellow line running up Laurel, we're adding class 4 bike lanes. In the street in Laurel. And then kind of the red ones running down Ravenswood and then connecting to Ringwood, that's one of those main paseos. And then you have one connecting from Burgess Drive on kind of Plan South there, and this is actually dated, but this will cut back up and connect to the one in Ringwood as well. So the red ones are kind of the fast pass through. And then there's orange, and then the loop road itself will have bike lanes as well. But yeah, we'll have, we're actually gonna have an actual bike repair shop that's gonna be in a nonprofit building, which we actually pay to construct, things like that. But then you'll have things like repair kiosks kind of sprinkled throughout. So that'll be like bike pump, basic tools. things
Any
like that.
bike storage in the buildings themselves? Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, both office and residential
Yeah.
have bike storage, yeah.
And the public spaces that you have, like the fields and the walkthroughs and the rest of it, that's open to Menlo Park residents? Yeah. I mean, I didn't see anything saying you were gonna be checking IDs.
Yeah, if you look at our CDP, which is a lot more granular, there's kind of like aprons around each building, both residential and commercial, to kind of create privacy and security. But in general, the green space is
Yeah,
open to public and all the trails.
I think it sounds great.
Yeah.
Is this okay to ask if, going back to the legacy list of how the BMR, recipients will be chosen, is that something that's gonna play in to this project?
Just potentially. So just to be clear, the legacy list is a list for persons interested in purchasing BMR housing. So there could be the component that the city would use a legacy list if he had mentioned, or in the presentation had mentioned, that 7 of the townhomes could be for sale, depending on, but currently, as I understand it, they're all rentals. So if they're all rentals, then a legacy list would not apply. In all likelihood, we will work with the applicant for their marketing plan, but it'd probably be, I'm thinking, a lottery system for those BMR units. So does that answer?
It does.
Yeah.
Now, will it be open to San Mateo County or just if you live in Menlo Park? Have you guys thought about that?
The BMR guidelines include a live work preference for the city, but it would, like all other affordable housing projects, it is available. Anyone in the public can apply. It's just that there is a live work preference for the BMR housing in our guidelines. And a few other disability, and I think displaced is another preference in the guidelines, but they would adhere to BMR guidelines for the distribution of those BMR units.
And is the development going to have their own property management?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any further questions or discussion on those comments?
Sounds good.
Well, with that, I could entertain a motion. And I can give some draft language here. This would be to potentially say, consider and make a recommendation to the planning commission and city council to approve a below market rate housing agreement with LPGC Menlo LLC for the Parkline Master Plan project to comprehensively redevelop the SRI campus at 333 Ravenswood Avenue.
So moved. I make a motion to.
Okay.
Second.
Maybe we have a roll call.
Okay, so it looks like we have a motion by Commissioner Leach and a second by Commissioner Bailey to recommend approval to the Planning Commission and City Council of the below market rate housing agreement for the Parkline Master Plan project, comprehensively redevelop the SRI campus at 333 Ravenswood Avenue. I will now do a roll call vote. Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Leach,
Aye.
Chair Merriman is absent. Commissioner Portillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Switzer,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Tremont is absent. The motion passes 4-0 with 2 absences.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for
Exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, well, moving on to agenda item D3. This is a review and recommendation that the city council accept the 2024 Housing Element Annual Progress Report. Principal Planner Tom Smith will be giving an introduction on this item. So the floor is all yours.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to meet with you this evening, and it's usually around this time of year that we come to the Housing Commission with our annual progress report. So with that, we can jump into the slides. Great. So every April 1st, the city submits the APR to the state, and it's to list out how many housing units were permitted in the previous year, and the work that we did to implement housing related programs from the housing element during, in this case, 2024. The APR is based on progress that we've made in producing housing. And so you'll see some of those numbers here, and some of those are included in the report as well. For a little additional background, we're currently in the 6th cycle housing element, and that covers an 8-year period that runs from 2023 to 2031. The housing element is a blueprint for how the city intends to meet its housing needs during that 8-year period. And our current housing element was first adopted in January 2023, and then we received certification from the state in March of 2024, so about a year ago. It includes sites, and it has some programs that would accommodate nearly 3,000 new units to meet the city's housing needs through 2031, and that nearly 3,000 units is called the Regional Housing Needs Allocation, or RHNA for short. Next slide. This table shows the units that are needed at each of the income levels to make up those 3,000 units. So you can see very low, moderate, and above moderate income categories. We have certain thresholds that we're supposed to meet through 2031, and those are included in that table. Next slide. So the APR is tracking housing developments across different phases from when they receive their entitlements, either through planning commission or the city council, and then it goes into the building permit issuance, and finally ends once the construction is complete and we have a final of the building and it's occupied. And so that development life cycle is shown in table A2 of the APR that was included with the report. But the key thing here is that the state considers when we issue building permits for a development to be the point at which we get to count those cities towards, count those units towards meeting the city's RHNA. In 2024, we produced 176 new units based on the building permits that were issued. And for comparison, there's a chart here that shows sort of our history of producing units in the not so distant past, from 2015 to now. And you can see that from the previous housing element cycle, which is shown on the left side of that yellow line, last year's production is not really inconsistent with some of the previous trends that we typically see. We tend to have multiple years where we get maybe a little bit lower development, and then there are spikes where we get quite a few large number of units that come in and are granted building permits. And so that could be for a number of different reasons. Typically, we see these downward trends during periods where we have a new plan that's been adopted or the zoning has been updated, and the market is kind of adapting to that. Developers are getting used to the new zoning. And so in 2016, for instance, we implemented Connect Menlo that dealt with a lot of the rezoning of the Bayfront area. And so you can see that development trends dipped there a little bit. And then, you know, once we got into the cycle, we had a big spike in 2022. And so with the adoption of the housing element in 2023, we also did quite a few rezonings throughout the city. And so I think we're seeing some of that phase of adapting, getting used to the new zoning, and people are exploring what can be done there. We also know there have been some economic trends recently that have affected housing production, but you can see it's starting to inch up a little bit more than where it was, especially last year. Next slide. ADU production, so our accessory dwelling units, that growth continues to be record setting. This is the 5th year in a row that we've beat the previous year's numbers. And so in 2020, we had 13 units. We're now up to 68. And so each year we've seen a lot or a little bit of growth. Some of that is because of a state law that was implemented in 2020 that streamlined ADU permitting. More recently, we've put in place a pre-approved ADU process, and that's where a developer or a designer, architect can come in with sort of a standardized plan. We'll review that up front, and then a resident can flip through the plans, if you will, and say like, oh, I'd like to put this in my backyard. And that part of the review is already done, if you will. And so it makes it a lot easier. That's something that was just implemented. So we may see in the future even further growth in ADU production because of those kinds of things. Next slide. So this chart shows the city's progress in meeting its RHNA during the first 2.5 years of the 6th cycle. And you can see, in particular, I would focus on so what we have is our allocation at the top that shows like all the units that we need to meet through 2031. And the next row is what we did for last year. And then we have in the 3rd row, the total units from June of 2022, and we started counting the units through now. And then the row that I focus on is that % complete. And you can see that at the 2-year mark of an 8-year cycle, you'd want to see about 25% complete for a category to be relatively on pace. And so you can see that we're meeting or exceeding that target roughly in the low, moderate, and especially the above moderate categories. One area where I think we're a little behind at the moment is in the very low income category, where we're at about 16% complete. So there's still plenty of time to make up for that, but we seem to be on or above trend in all of the other categories at this time. Next slide. Table D of the APR document highlights some of our programs implementation from the housing element. So I'll go through these and just touch on them very quickly, but we have a number of housing rehabilitation programs that are currently underway. Habitat for Humanity, I know there's a goal of 20 very low income household rehabs, and in 2024, Habitat for Humanity received 22 inquiries and had 3 qualified applicants move forward into the scoping phase. And then Rebuilding Together Peninsula had completed 5 home rehab projects out of a goal of 8, so doing well there. The city's also working on an anti-displacement strategy, particularly for the Belhaven neighborhood, and initial implementation for that program began in 2024 with some community meetings held in English and Spanish in November of 2024, so later in the year. But the city is taking the feedback that we got from that, continuing to process that, and we'll move forward in 2025 with the launch of a survey as we continue to make some advancements there. In September of 2024, the City Council approved a $2 million loan using the BMR NOFA funds towards a 62-unit project that would serve veterans, including formerly homeless veterans and their families, between the 30 and 50% of area median income level. And so that project just broke ground in February 2025. So that's an exciting development there. And there's a photo, a rendering there of what the development will look like. Next slide. And then one of the programs that was a big highlight of the Housing Commission, as well as the Planning Commission and City Council during the development of the housing element, was the development of at least 245 affordable units on the downtown, a combination of downtown city-owned parking lots. And so in 2024, we released a feasibility study, and then the City Council directed staff to proceed with exploring development on parking plazas 1, 2, and 3 that are located north of Santa Cruz Avenue. There were a number of public outreach events, public meetings, a lot of public feedback about this project through the end of 2024. And then in January of 2025, the City Council authorized staff to release an RFQ for that. So we're currently in the process of that. We'll see what we get back, but through the end of March, that's open for responses from developers. And then there were a number of community outreach events. So the first annual housing resource fair was held. There was a good attendance for that. And then also some participation in the Love Our Earth Festival to promote knowledge about local housing programs and options. And the city also created a brochure to increase awareness and information about housing related programs. And then finally, I point out that at the end of 2024, Menlo Park's home upgrade program completed 19 home energy assessments. And there were 7 signed participation agreements for Bellhaven homeowners to receive energy efficiency and electrification upgrades, including heat pumps. So that was that addresses program H6C in the housing elements. Those are just the highlights. There's many more things that are ongoing that are listed in table D of the APR. Next slide. Looking ahead to some potential for future housing production. In previous years, there were around 1,900 housing units that were entitled. So the bulk of those are through Willow Village and Menlo Flats. Some of those units are still being worked through different aspects of the projects, but eventually the hope is that they'll come forward for building permits, and at that time they would count towards our production in that year. We have approximately 550 units under review for building permits now, and so in the near future, hopefully this year, we would count the 123 Independence Drive project with 432 units, and then 3705 Haven Avenue with 112 units. And then we have approximately 900 units that are currently under review by the Planning Commission or City Council, leading to those hearings. So Parkline, which we just talked about, up to 800 units there, and then 320 Sheridan Drive with 88 units on the Ravenswood School District site. That project was approved by Planning Commission and then appealed to City Council, and that will be heard, I believe, this month by the City Council. So getting close to a final resolution on that one. So you could see any number of these projects potentially count towards the 2025 APR or future years. So a lot of units in the pipeline still for potential production. Next slide, please. So for next steps, continuing implementation of all the various housing element programs, and just to highlight, we've heard that the anti-displacement strategy was an important one, modifications to the BMR guidelines, and then continue to work on the downtown city parking lots programs. So it's just a few of the things that we can look forward to more progress on. Next slide. And so staff is recommending that the Housing Commission recommend that the City Council accept the APR for 2024. Planning Commission is scheduled to review it on March 24th, and then the City Council will review it on March 25th. There are no other actions required as part of review of the APR. It's more of a report out of progress rather than setting any sort of guidance for the future years. And then following council acceptance of the APR, staff would submit the document before the state's deadline of April 1st this year. And with that, conclude my presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, this item is now open for public comment.
Yeah, my name is Lauren Dakin. I'm all for low income housing. I think what they're doing over here in Parkline is brilliant. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. Why is it brilliant? Because you have space in which to do it. You can do all different kinds of things, in bike lanes. I heard someone talk about a bike tunnel underneath. I think that's brilliant. The hard part I'm having here is taking over the downtown parking lots. I mean, we got 4,000 people. We've talked to everybody, all the businesses, they're really stressed out. And everybody's really getting angry over it. And I really hope that you guys give it heavy consideration to do something else. I mean, this is brilliant. Everybody's working together. It's a space everybody can deal with. To take that away and to lose all these businesses is devastating. So instead of having animosity and a war that's gonna go to litigation, which is what's gonna happen, we'll spend the money to help you guys do this in a manner that makes everybody happy. So those are my comments, and I hope you listen, and I wish everyone well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Come on, the speaker card. Lauren. Okay.
I have more, but I was trying to grab a bit. Okay. Oh, it looks like we do have one more public comments from Catherine. So Catherine, give me a second. Bring up the timer. Okay, go ahead, Catherine.
Great, thank you. I really was a question, I guess, and I know it's not, but congratulations to the staff on implementing, as much as they can on progress on the housing element. I did have a concern, I guess, about what happens if those 1,900 units don't move forward. I forget what the name of the project is, but that seems like a pretty big hit, and it sounds like it's pretty unlikely. But that's probably not for this evening's discussion. But I appreciate all the information on how things are moving along, and looks like we are behind on the very low income. So something we can hopefully prioritize in the next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you for your comments. Just double check last call. Okay, that will end public comment for this item.
All right, so moving over to Housing Commission, clarifying questions, comments, discussion.
I'm excited about the downtown parking lots. I know that's gonna be controversial, right, as we expected it would be, but and all of the housing that's coming along as usual, the above market rate sailing along.
And that is scheduled the end of the RFQ for March.
Yes, so March 31st, I believe is the date that closes, and so at that time, we will get hopefully some responses from developers, and then return to council for further direction and see what we get back.
I'd like to comment on the dwelling units. I really like what you guys are doing. There's other counties that actually do similar, but they actually have a toolkit for residents to that has those options to choose the different floor plans.
Right.
But also they have a team that actually helps the resident or the homeowner in going in choosing and putting it together. So I don't know if I know it's fairly new, you mentioned, but I think it could flourish a lot more than what I've seen. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, ideally what we're trying to do is some website improvements to create more customer friendly ways of getting information about ADUs, assigning staff that are kind of like the point people to engage with residents on those options. And then I think the pre-approval process, we're hoping will take off so that people see that they kind of have a menu of options. It makes it a lot easier to see like, oh, this is an actual ADU that I could put in my backyard or whatnot.
Yeah, I know Alameda County has a toolkit. I checked it out. Also, I'd like to comment on the whole parking. I just don't know why we can't just build a big thing where everybody can just park, but a structure where everybody.
A
but,
parking
you know,
garage?
A parking garage. Let's just put it in the middle. Sorry, it's not funny, but.
If I could just also follow up on the ADU, following up with Tom. The city's in the process of joining the San Mateo, or the ADU Resource Center of San Mateo County. It's a nonprofit organization where you can go to specific cities and you can do a calculation of how much your ADU could potentially cost. It provides a lot of those resources that you're looking at. And so I can send that out to the Housing Commission. It's up and running, and yeah, the city's in the process of joining.
Actually, that's funny you say that because that's actually the website I went to. But when you go to the map, it cuts out at a certain, because that's the coverage that it ends. But now I'm sure it's been updated.
Yeah, no,
Since-
they include
yeah.
our city, so you
Yeah.
can calculate using the city's fees. Approximately how much it would cost to construct an ADU, yeah. So I'll be happy to send that out to the Housing Commission.
And then, oh, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna add, it'd be nice if there was like maybe an incentive for, homeowners to partake. Like, never mind, sorry, it's like that.
Okay.
It was, I just had a question. So it was recent that these plans were made available. Is there been any, I know you had that tabulation of the ADUs that have been permitted or issued a building permit. Out of that number, do we have an idea how many people have used these plans that are available, or?
It's very fresh. I think the pre-approved process was kind of like right before the holidays in December. And so none of the 68 units would have used that pre-approved process. So this year is kind of when we'll start to see some of that coming online.
Okay.
And I just had a quick question. So the criteria for something being essentially counting is the building permit. And I'm just curious, does that mean essentially it's gonna happen? I feel like there's not necessarily like a time frame set on that or anything. Do we sometimes lose projects post building permit to completion, or
It's, I think usually once we see a building permit pulled and some of the work starts on the site, then it's a pretty good sign that it's gonna continue through to completion. Sometimes there is a lag from when it gets approval from like planning commission or city council to when they will then come in and pull a building permit to start construction, but generally, people or developers are pretty certain about something once they've pulled the building.
cool.
But also, that's a great question, because the annual APR, the state wants to know that too. And for every property, it talks about when it was entitled, when building permits were pulled, when it received C of O or certificate of occupancy. So they want
Yeah,
to track
okay.
that exact type.
I have a project I have my eye on that's been sitting, I think, in that building permit approved state for a very long time, so, yeah.
Very good.
Well,
I have no questions about it. And, so I recommend that we accept the, 2024 housing element approved annual progress report. Or we recommend that the city council accept the 2024 housing element annual progress report.
I would second that.
All right, so it looks like we have a motion by Commissioner Leach and a second by Commissioner Switzer. To recommend that the city council accept the 2024 housing element annual progress report. I will now do a roll call vote. Commissioner Mealy,
Yes.
Commissioner Leach,
Yes.
Chair Merriman is absent, Commissioner Portillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Switzer,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Tremont is absent, so the motion passes 4-0 with 2 absences.
All right, great work, thank you.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Moving right along, we are right at 7:40, so I think we're good on time, so
Okay, that's great.
let's see, back to D1 on the agenda. Reviewing the Housing Commission meeting minutes from the February 5th meeting. This is to approve said minutes. The item is now open for public comment.
There is no public comments on this item.
All right, so are there, yeah,
Previous minutes, yeah.
are there any comments on the minutes as presented? Okay. Well, I think we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Bailey and a second by Commissioner Leach to approve the Housing Commission meeting minutes for February 5th, that's 2025. I will now do a roll call vote. Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Leach,
Yes.
Chair Merriman is absent, Commissioner Portillo,
Yes.
and Commissioner Switzer.
Yes.
And Vice Chair Tremont is absent. Motion passes 4-0 with 2 absences.
All right, trucking right along. Let's see, do we have any individual commissioner updates at this time?
I'm out next, my term ends next month, so to next month will be my last meeting. So I'm hoping that lots of people come forward to, because I think Commissioner Merriman's also out, right? And it looks like Commissioner O'Neill has left. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
you kind of beat me to it, but that was a staff update, but that's fine, that's fine. Yeah,
That's it.
Yes.
okay.
Any other updates? Or none for me, so.
I would, I think Adriana mentioned you would probably bring it up in regards to the housing resource fair in May.
In May,
No, in
March 29th,
Resource fair.
BHCC, yeah, we'll be bringing that up. That was part of the update.
Yeah.
You're beating me to that. Also.
you just love.
My job.
Well, I think that's a fitting segue to.
There you go.
some
Okay.
updates, yeah.
Very good. Yeah, in staff updates, in terms of recruitment, the recruitment has opened. There are 4 spots for the Housing Commission. So, you know, anybody, just I'll let them know. It's currently open, yeah. March 29th at the BHCC from 11 to 2 is the resource fair. The city, the CDD, Community Development Department will be there. Ariana will be there partially too. And so we will be handing out the housing resource guide. And also information about other organizations who may not be participating. I think there are a number of organizations there, but whoever's not there, they can take space on our table. That's a resource fair. And again, Affordable Housing Month is coming up in May.
That's what I
And,
was talking about.
oh,
Yeah.
a friendly reminder that the Housing Commission Work Plan has 2 outreach events. So think about either the March 29th, maybe participating with the city at its table. Or if there's any ideas about Affordable Housing Month in May, then it's getting close, let's just say.
Should it, question, would it be say wise to maybe form like an ad hoc committee for that, or, I mean, should we formalize that, or if, say,
For an ad hoc, yes, I would think you would have to, you know, since we're in the staff update, that has to be on the agenda. So speaking of agenda, future agenda items, we don't have any agenda items right now in April for the next meeting. So thinking that, understanding that some commissioners will be leaving, but if current commissioners are interested in maybe an update to the housing legislation that was just, that became enacted in 2025, or even just learning more about housing legislation, planning, certain things that developers use that may help, not may help, but may impact affordable housing, such as density bonus, if you're familiar with density bonus, or understanding that time is money. There's SB 330 that kind of helps move the development timeline, shortens the development timeline. If those are things that these kind of like legislative tools that developers use to develop housing, but on the flip side also to develop more affordable housing. Are those things that the
Yes,
commission could be interested in?
yes.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, because there are requirements like if you're within a half mile of a major transit stop, you don't need to provide parking. Those type of things.
2097, yeah.
Yes, exactly. The state has been very active in passing legislation to encourage greater housing production. So we can put together a presentation, just kind of like basic legislation, and then 2025 revisions that may have maybe refined some of this existing legislation. So if that's something that the commission is interested in, we can do that too.
Yes,
And for,
I don't wanna add work, cause it sounds like you really want it, yes.
but I think it's good, it could be a good background.
Yeah, definitely educational stuff is good, you know, learning a lot, but there's still a lot
Okay,
of some gaps, yeah.
okay, then that's great. We can do that for April, and if suggestion of an ad hoc, an agenda.
Yeah, for maybe some of an ad hoc for the community engagement, just to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, are we talking about the affordable housing?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be great.
Affordable housing month, okay,
Yeah, if
all
we can
right,
do that.
then we'll make sure to put an agenda item for the establishment of an ad hoc for community outreach.
Okay. Well,
Maybe
And that concludes
Yeah.
staff updates.
well, I
Can
think,
would we, on that ad hoc, would we talk budget too? Like what would be the budget as, no?
I would think probably just to start, maybe
Okay.
come up with some ideas, and then staff can work with you in regards to
Sounds good.
how to implement such community outreach. So,
well, with that, I will adjourn at 7:49.
okay, excellent, all right.
Sorry, guys.